Hello, you are listening to the All Girls School podcast. I'm your host, Victoria Barrett, a graduate from an all-women's college in Virginia. This podcast aims to highlight the diverse experiences and life journeys of graduates from all-women's colleges. Listeners can expect to hear candid conversations about a wide variety of topics. This podcast strives to be in an inclusive space, so some guests may identify themselves as non-binary or trans. I hope you're ready, because class is about to start. All right. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the All Girls School podcast. I'm your host, Victoria Barrett, she, her pronouns. Each week, I sit down with someone who has attended and or graduated from an all-women's college. This week, I am joined yet again by a Mary Baldwin alum. I promise I do plan to have an alum from another women's college, but I'm still working on growing my network of contacts, so feel free to email me if you're interested in being on the podcast. Anywho, back to today's guest. She is, dare I say, one of my mentors from college, but I want to make sure I don't give her too much credit because God knows her ego doesn't need it. Today, I am joined by Sarah McFarland. Welcome to the podcast. Can you introduce yourself and share your pronouns with listeners?
Yeah, so my name is Sarah McFarland, she, her pronouns. Do you want my age and weight or?
No. Tell us a little bit about what you do if you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, so I am currently an Army officer. I work at the Pentagon and I'm getting ready to move away from Washington, D.C. to go back to Fort Liberty, North Carolina.
Exciting. All right. So it has been a little while since I've seen you. Last time we saw each other was, of course, pretty on brand for both of us. We were at a concert.
Yeah. A great concert.
It was a great concert. It was Brandi Carlile and it was Red Rocks. So not only was the artist amazing, but the venue was top notch. But a lot of things have happened, so I really am curious. I know you were a big fan of Queen Elizabeth. How are you coping with her passing? Because she has passed since the last time I saw you.
Yeah, so I was at work when the news broke. And my best friend actually happened to be in London for work. And so I got an up-close view live from FaceTime during when they moved her body on the casket, the horse-drawn carriage type thing. And I felt as if I were grieving with the royal family. Yeah. I think, it's a devastating loss, but you just have to respect that she's lived such a full life. But yeah, no, I mean, and I think a lot of things are overshadowed with the Harry Meghan thing, which baffles me. But thank God they're not a part of it anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. So I stand with what I say.
Okay. It's funny because speaking of the death of the Queen, I was a middle school teacher for a little while, and there was a student who, it was maybe a week before the Queen died, brought one of the teachers that I co-teach with, Katie, brought her a picture of Queen Elizabeth II and asked her if she could hang it up in her room, her classroom, because she loved Queen Elizabeth II. And then literally maybe a week or two later,
clearly that was the student jinxed it.
Yeah. That student was devastated. And I was like, I bet I know who else is devastated. Must be Sarah.
As she's crying in front of all her coworkers.
Yeah.
At work.
Yeah. It's excuse me, I need to take leave the day of the funeral. I need appropriate time to grieve.
I literally took the newspaper, the Queen is dead from Time.
Get it framed?
I forget what
get it shadow
newspaper
box.
It was, but I hung it on the side of my I worked beside the microwave, such a fancy place, and I hung The Queen is Dead, and it's, I believe, still there. I'll check the office space this week and report back. But
wow.
I had to let
Are you
everyone
able to
know.
send a picture? Or can you not take a picture?
I can't take pictures in there. Yeah.
Dang. Wow. But I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
That it's there.
Yeah,
I
it
believe
was.
you. There's no doubt in my mind, actually. But anyway, I know Sarah, believe it or not, we're not sisters. I know we both have red hair. We're not sisters. But we went to college. She was a year older, maybe a little wiser. Maybe.
Debatable.
And she does come up in our pilot episode because she is partially the reason why Amanda Harrison and I are best friends, because I wanted to get better at running. And so I was like, who's really good at running? And, it was Sarah, and still is. I'm sure you could probably smoke me like any day of the week. Like, I'm not in a good place. Running. That's why I get scared to post my pace on Instagram. I'm like,
I'm letting you do your thing before
Okay.
I really start. I'm like
Ye-
9:36.
I know.
What in the world?
I know. I'm like, oh man. If you ever saw where I didn't post my pace, where it's just like the map only,
Yeah.
that's because I was like, I don't want Sarah. But getting back into it.
At least you're doing it.
Yeah.
I'll be positive about
Yeah, thanks.
the negative.
But yeah, so I asked if I could run with her, and she was like, sure, let's see if any of your other sister-in-laws will run. And in college, maybe your personality, wasn't the most approachable. So weirdly enough, when I asked their sister-in-laws, they were like, hell no. Yeah. But Harrison and I are both just crazy enough to do it. So she said yes. And we started, like that literally brought us together, and we started hanging out more and essentially became best friends. Yeah.
You're very welcome.
Thanks. She won't admit it, but she really enjoyed our company and being our running mentor. But she'll never admit it. We already pointed out that I have a astounding memory, and so one thing I do remember from college is that you were obsessed with someone who is a particularly well-known graduate from an all-women's college. Many may know her by the name Hillary Rodham Clinton. Just out of curiosity, what was it about Hillary? Like, where did that obsession come from?
So oddly enough, and thank you for delving into my past.
Always.
My mom was married to a guy in the Navy, and he was stationed at Norfolk when the USS Cole bombing happened, I believe in like 2001, right before they were getting ready to leave the administration, the Clintons. And I got to go to the ceremony for like the memorial service or whatever. And the president, and she was the first lady at the time, and I think just elected to the Senate, was there, and they were like going down the line, shaking the hands of everyone, and she came over, and I was like, who is this? I was like 11 at the time. And like, yeah, cool, the first lady and the president. But then I got home, and my mom was just kind of like, like brought it out of me. She's like, what did you think was cool about her? Because my grandparents would never.
Yeah.
Like,
they
are the devil. Like, the Clintons are the devil.
Yeah, I was like, you grew up in a pretty
very conservative
area, so
yeah.
I just thought it was so interesting.
So, and then my mom let me get on eBay, and I got like she has to cut this out of here. I got like magazines with her on it, and she like kind of just let me like read all about her, and I just like quickly became obsessed. And then I was like, oh, and her husband cheated on her? That must have sucked. And I was just like itching for her to write a book about it. And then when she published her memoir, I like read it 80 times.
Mm.
And then it like just slowly stuck with me. And like politics aside, I think, she's a very educated woman. She's seen a lot. She's done a lot. And
Yeah.
you just have to respect that aspect of her. I know everyone's going to be like,
Mm-hmm.
F her, she's a
Yeah.
liar, her emails,
Yeah.
whatever else. But I do respect the fact that
Mhm.
she has like done so much and she's been a public servant for almost all of her life.
Yeah, pretty much her entire life.
And she's from Pennsylvania, so like, come on.
Yeah. And she did graduate from an all-women's college.
Isn't it like the #1 women's college?
I'm not sure if it's the #1, but it is like one of the most
High-ranking,
prestigious
yeah.
ones. Do you know the name?
Wellesley.
It is Wellesley. Do you know when she graduated?
Oh, 60-something? Two?
Yes.
62?
Not 62. You're aging her a little bit. It was 1969.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Actually, in preparation, I actually kind of looked up a little bit about her. She gave the commencement speech.
She did.
And she was the first student to ever be chosen by peers, like, to do it. And if you actually listen to the speech, read the speech, it's actually kind of like a pretty badass speech. I was like, dang, Hillary. I like young Hillary. I was like, dang.
Yeah. Did you know she was actually like a Republican?
Yeah, I did see that.
Switched to Democrat. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, she was in the Young Republican Club. I don't know if it was called Young Republican, but it was definitely like some sort of Republican club. I was like, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weird how that works.
Right?
There's a weird theory about political parties that me and Tesla were talking about, but I won't. We'll talk about that off of
You've
the
already
podcast.
dug into my personal history
I
enough.
know.
So next.
Well, it sounds like you already had the chance to meet Hillary, but if you got to meet her as an adult, what would you do? What would you say?
This sounds braggy, and it's really not.
No.
But because of my job, I've gotten to like meet a lot of people, and I just get extremely nervous, and I tend to say nothing, which is pretty atypical Sarah when it's like, okay, you're in a situation where like, oh, hey, this is happening. It's cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, very nice to meet you. And like kind of
And then
sound
you run away.
psychotic. And then I just stand there. And which is probably what I would do. And I'll say this. I had the chance to meet the Secretary of the Army, who's a female. And I was the only other female in the room with her.
Did she like make it a point to like say hello to you?
Yes. But
Okay.
I didn't ask a question, right? I was at a very small, intimate table, and there was just a lot of conversation happening, and I didn't feel like I had anything to add to it. So I sat there.
Yeah.
And she quickly was like, you had the opportunity to talk to me. Why didn't you? As another female in the room. And I was like, damn.
Yeah, why didn't you ask that stereotypical question? Ma'am, can you tell us what it's like
to be the first female
yeah.
Secretary of the Army?
Yeah.
I actually wanted to know what kind of perfume she was wearing because she smelled delightful. And of course was in like this pink Versace suit. So I was like, my God. Yeah. Very lovely. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's what I do. Say hi and then stand there.
Yeah. And you wonder what perfume they're wearing.
Squander any opportunity given.
Yeah.
It's typically what I do.
Man, I kind of wish you would have asked that. Then she might have regretted
exactly
saying that. Like, oh, that was your
question? That
question?
was going to be your question?
Yeah, that was your question.
Not retention for the Army?
Yeah. It's hilarious. Okay. Well, let's back it on up. To why did you go to Mary Baldwin? What led you to Mary Baldwin? I mean, I feel like the answer's been pretty similar for everyone I've talked to, because everyone I've talked to has also been in the VWIL program. But was that the only reason it was on your radar?
So I actually was set to go to Eastern Tennessee State to play soccer. Um,
Oh.
yeah, this is, see, now
Division
she's getting,
Division what?
I think 2,
Okay.
potentially.
Okay.
And I can't remember. So we went out there. My
Wow.
grandparents drove me 11 hours. And I, like, did the badging. I did everything. Met the team. And
Okay.
panicked that it was 11 hours away. Because I was like,
Oh,
my family
okay.
will never visit. Like, they will not, like,
Yeah.
just the way my family's set up, it wasn't, like, financially, they just wouldn't be able to come do, like, the parents, all of that. And I was, like,
Yeah.
11 hours away. I was like, I
Mhm.
can't do it. And, I could just see my grandparents' faces. They were like, oh, man, we'll never see her. So I was like, I'm not doing it. And my mom was like, you're going to school. I
Mhm.
don't care. I had also applied to Penn State, but it was too close to home. And then
Mm.
went to VMI to do an overnight to play soccer there. And on the way there, my mom, God bless her, was reading about it as I was driving us to
Yeah.
Lexington. And she's like, oh my God. I think she had read some case that a female had been spit on or something heinous. We get there and she sees the girls' haircuts and starts in front of the soccer coach crying. And I was like, oh, it's traumatizing. And I was like, oh my God. And she's like, well, they spit on her here. And I was mortified, I gotta tell you. And I still talk to her about how embarrassing it was that day. That she was just, she left me do the overnight. And then we got in the car and she's like, absolutely, this is a hard no. Not only will you have to wear a wig when you come home because your hair. This is a hard no, Sarah. I don't, like, I want you to go to school, but this isn't it. And
Yeah.
I think while we were there, someone mentioned, well, Deborah, if you don't think this is a good fit for her, there's a program
Right down the
right
road.
down the road. And so I had not applied, and I'm not even kidding. We were a week from school starting,
Oh,
and
wow.
they admitted me, and
Yeah.
there I was.
I mean, it's a pretty prestigious program if you couldn't tell.
There I was. And I really didn't know about the VWIL thing. They said there was a program, and I gotta tell you, like, I do things without knowing really what I'm doing, and then just kind of just like, okay. They're like, you want to play soccer? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I was gonna play,
Yeah.
And they're like, you want to do this program? You play the clarinet. There's a band. And I was like, sure. And then, 5 months in, they're like, can you run 2 miles? And I was like, I think so. And they timed me, and they're like, you want a commission? You can,
So you had no clue that
not
you wanted to join the Army?
not
at that
a
point?
single idea.
Wow, you just stumbled into
And
it?
literally, the picture of me doing my oath, I'm like, let's. And I call my mom, and I'm like, hey,
I'm joining the Army.
we don't have to do those Pell whatever grant paperwork anymore because I got a scholarship. And
Wow. What did Deborah
please
say?
edit that out. I did not mean to make that noise. She's like, you're an idiot, but okay. Because I went to school with, I think I had $600 to my name from working on the farm that summer and taped it to the back of my bed in my dorm. And that's like what I had. My parents or my grandparents bought me a little like mini fridge, and that was it. And I was like, oh man, we got to do something. So join the Army.
So what was the rest of your college experience like? Because obviously you weren't expecting that. Like if you had gone to the other school, I think things probably would have turned out very different just based on the geographical location of it. Not as diverse, I would assume.
Sometimes I think that I live like a parallel life. There's like what I really want to do, and then there's kind of like what I just stepped into.
Yeah.
And like I think after I get out of the Army is when my like life will really start.
Begin?
Yeah.
I get that.
I've always wanted to be a funeral director. That's like my goal in life.
I know, I'm a good listener and I remember.
So that is what I will end up doing. And where I get a funeral home, I don't know. But catch me in the hearse. Yeah. And like at school, I knew I wanted to be a funeral director. Wasn't a funeral director program. I did medical anthropology.
Yeah. I remember you talking about being like potentially a coroner once.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's so much school. That's like
yeah, a lot of
med school.
Yeah.
I'm not that great at chemistry.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, chemistry is what changed me from a pre-med route to international.
I'm glad you said, because I didn't remember what you majored in. But
that's fine. I acknowledge that I have a like crazy memory and I just like remember all these details about so many different people. I mean, maybe it's a gift, maybe it's a curse.
I don't know. It's kind of weird. I'm just kidding.
Man, wow, that's fascinating. That really is fascinating. Like,
who knew?
I'm actually reading this book called The Midnight Library, and it's about when you die, how you are in this like in between life and death, and you're in this library, and the library is full of books of alternate lives. So there's just essentially a ton of books with alternate lives because each choice, that you make impacts your life and changes your life. So it's just this character going through different choices that they made and choosing like the other option to see how it goes. I'm not done with it yet, but I don't know. That made me think of that, like the parallel lives.
Yeah, no, it's a real thing, and I'm currently living it alive.
Yeah. That's so interesting because I feel like, the Army, it's weird because I went into college knowing I wanted to be in the Army and I thought I'd be in it, for at least the 20 years. And then, no. No, that did not happen. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Well, I'm in the reserves, so, it's not.
That's
not
valid.
bad.
I wish I had the courage to, step away, but I don't. So,
yeah. But also, maybe I could have done this at 42 instead with a full retirement.
there you go.
But I mean, I don't know. I probably wouldn't have been happy. Who knows?
You wouldn't have got me on this podcast
No.
at 42, I got to tell you. So,
Yeah.
you made the right decision.
Yeah. I mean, you might have been a general by then. Who knows? All right. So, next question. So after college, what kind of opportunities have you been able to pursue with the Army? So what kind of opportunities has the Army given you? I know you mentioned you're in the DC area now. What kind of led you? I know the answer to this, but listeners don't. How did you get to the DC area?
I started in North Carolina, and kind of did like the basic jobs that you need. I also had the opportunity to deploy twice from there, and then I went to Texas. I got to train with the Marine Corps, which is outside of my service or whatever, for a year, which was awesome. And then I moved to Texas, and then I deployed again from there. Probably
was that when you went to Kuwait?
Yeah.
Yeah. We hung out a little bit in Kuwait.
Yeah, we
I was
did.
in Kuwait.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was that, and then I was a company commander, which, everyone says it's the greatest job in the Army. It, I think, changed me as a person. I wouldn't say it was the greatest job because I was like 100 pounds and stressed out, but
You were thin.
I was thin. Good Lord. I was fast, though.
Yeah, you were running fast.
really
I was
fast.
like, I'll catch up.
Yeah, I was quick.
But I would not catch up.
But then from there, I applied to a program called the Joint Chiefs of Staff Internship. I believe it's now rebranded it's something different. Abrams Fellowship, Creighton Abrams, maybe. An Abrams Fellow. Yeah, that's what I am. And through that program, they moved me to DC. I got a master's degree at Georgetown. And then I had to, excuse me. I already drank all my water.
I offered to give you more.
Then I had to serve 2 years in the Pentagon. And one of those years being a general's aide. So that's what I've been doing for a year.
Oh, okay.
And again, I am stressed to the point of no return, but it's soon ending and I'm going to move away again. So that, I think, the Army has I haven't really had opportunities that I necessarily wanted to do, but I've had opportunities to like be impacted by people and then impact people, which is awesome. And then for the first, like this is probably the first time it's been my decision to pursue something that's off track, I guess, to broaden. They call it broadening.
Yeah. Where do you kind of like envision yourself going with the rest of your career before you get to retire?
I say that I don't want to be a general officer, but I think that if enticed, I could do it. I do want to be a battalion commander.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is on my next. That's what I'm on the hunt for right now. So I'll see how it pans out in like 4 years.
Nice. No, I mean, I think you'll get it. Like, I mean, I'm manifesting it for you.
I appreciate that. It's just 20 years of my life, you know?
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to stay in the 20 years and you're going to reach lieutenant colonel, like, why not strive for the battalion command? Because, I mean, it's within your time frame anyway. So, yeah. And that'd be cool. Yeah. And then I can say I know a battalion commander.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah. Who called? Victoria? Never heard of her.
Yeah. She wants to interview me again?
No, absolutely not.
One and done. Okay, let's move away from the Army.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So I am pretty new to the aunt life. I have a nephew, but you have been in the aunt life game for a few years now.
10.
Wow,
Yeah,
10 years
10.
already? Wow. How has being an aunt changed you, and has it made you kind of think about what your goals of a family are, if you want a family?
No. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Being an aunt is one of the great, and I mean that. I'm not even trying to be sarcastic. It's probably like one of the funnest things I've ever gotten to experience.
Yeah.
And the only downside about my nephew, who his name is Jace Wayne, but I call him JW.
Yeah.
He's not an animal person. And you know, I have a dog. I have 2 dogs now. We'll talk about that. But I always wanted my dog to like love on this baby, and from like day one it was toxic. And so he just doesn't like animals.
Yeah.
And no fault to his own. He lives on a farm, and like animals are used as, you know, food. So it's like, no, I don't want to kiss the dog, Aunt Pooh. He calls me Aunt Pooh. But yeah, no, he's the coolest. He's at a cool age where it's like you're starting to see who he like potentially could become, and it's a little terrifying because he's a little shit. But he's just so smart, and like, you know, to see unlimited potential is awesome, and like just be supportive of whatever he's trying to do in his life. Right now, he wants me to buy him a dirt bike. So daily I get phone calls about when are you going to Maryland to look at this dirt bike? And it's just like, wow, dude. So he has a chore chart to do, and he's also like on suspension with me because he used a vulgar word. And I just will not cave. So he owes me a few things, and then we'll see. Does it make me want to be a parent? Not necessarily. It's nice to like have him for the weekend and then give him back.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. And I think that my job keeps me from, I just fear that I wouldn't be the parent that I know I could be right now in my current status.
Okay.
If that's a fair answer, I think.
That is a fair
answer. It's the most honest
No,
assessment
I
I
mean,
can give you.
I feel very similar. Like, I love my nephew, but I also see how much energy it takes for my sister, my brother-in-law, and my mom watches him during the day while my sister's at work.
Oh, that's awesome that she is able
which is
to.
great for her. Like that, like, because she just retired right around the same time, like right before he was born. So I think it's given her a lot of purpose, and I think it's great for her. But yeah, I can see that he's a lot of work, especially he's crawling around now. Like any day, I'm sure he'll start walking, and he is all over the place. Like he's super energetic. He's going to be an extrovert for sure.
Yeah.
He does love animals.
Oh,
He will chase the cats, chase the dogs. Even my dog Olaf, because he's been staying there while I've been traveling, and Olaf does really well with him too, which is good. Good to know.
Yeah,
I guess.
right. There you go.
I mean, good to know. But yeah. Back to my great memory. I don't know how we got on this topic, but like several years ago, we were talking about like fostering, like the process to become a foster parent and adoption. Is that something like you still think about, like especially if you do get to a point in your life where you would want to have a family?
Yeah, so I was like, and I don't know that I had told you this, but so I was like a month shy, and I don't know where to look. Is it at you or the camera?
You can look at
Okay.
me, you can look at the camera. I mean, it is a
Oh.
conversation, so I go back and forth.
Okay. Well,
But you can look at me if that makes you more comfortable. If it doesn't make you comfortable, then look at the
I
camera.
don't know. It's I even have a famous people light on me. I went through the process when I first moved to DC. I was a month shy of finishing everything and doing the classes, and like they came to do the home study and everything associated with it. And my mom called and was like, I have cancer. Can I stay with you and go through it? You know, her doctor was like, you need to quit your job and whatever. So to be a foster parent, you have to have one room dedicated for the child. And that's where my mom stayed. So I stopped everything and kind of put it on hold. And I wanted to do it while I was here because it was like the most stability I would probably have, where I wasn't working hellacious hours and I wasn't going to deploy from the Pentagon. Do I think that I'll pursue it? Maybe later in life. I don't think that, again, I think it's very situational because I had tried it before in Texas and then ended up leaving. You know, I couldn't do it when I was in North Carolina because it was just too chaotic.
Yeah.
So it's like certain times where I could potentially do it and do it temporarily. Maybe. I'm not opposed to it. It's just like life happens around it and it sucked. But my mom's fine, so
that's good.
To give not some very sad prognosis, but she's doing okay.
Yeah.
And she's moved out, so.
Yay. We're glad that Deborah's okay.
Yes, Deborah's back to being herself.
Yeah, thriving. Thriving again. But yeah, I just remember when we had that conversation, I was genuinely surprised.
Yes.
And I can kind of relate to where like my aunt had just gone through like my aunt and my uncle were foster parents. They fostered to adopt 4 children because she struggled with like fertility issues. And so so I had a little bit of experience just like from my cousins that were adopted by my aunt, and it really opened my eyes up to like potentially doing that. And always like, because I do identify as lesbian, like adoption's always been on my radar anyway.
Yeah.
For family planning.
I think it would be an awesome opportunity to provide, again, somebody with an unstable, something's unstable around them and be a stable person. I think that serves a lot in their life to make it better. And it's not that I have this overwhelming desire to be a parent. Mind you, everyone was opposed to the idea. Not a single person was supportive of me trying to be a foster parent. Not a one. And I was like, I'm doing it.
Yeah. I would have been supportive.
Right? I mean, like, family-wise, they were like, no. You'll get someone crazy and they'll kill you in your sleep. And I'm like, come on. Not a baby. And what would have ended up happening with the area, I would have gotten, like, a pregnant 16-year-old is, like, how it would have played out. And I was like, oh, my God, I'm going to be a grandma. And my mom, like, she just was like, Sarah, I just don't think it's the right, like, I think you're setting yourself up for, like, again, unrealistic expectations. But I was ready to step in and just do it.
Yeah. No, I think that's, like, super admirable and noble. And, you know, just knowing your personality, you might have just been like the level of like tough love that, you know,
Right. If you didn't know,
like, yeah.
I'm a very structured person,
Yeah.
and I will do X, Y, and Z every day and
Mm-hmm.
be ruthless about it.
Yeah. And as someone who has been one of her mentees, whether she claims me as a mentee or not, uh, she's she's got high expectations, and she's not afraid to let you know if you're not meeting them. So yeah. But anywho, yeah, I just thought that was cool, and I support it.
Well, thank you.
If you eventually do it, I support it because these kids need some tough love. To be honest, I was a teacher, so well,
The only part that was scary was like I'd have to cook for somebody else, which was like,
Yeah.
oh God,
yeah,
chicken and rice every day. I'm sure they'd get tired of that.
yeah. Roasted broccoli,
Right?
yeah, no, yeah, that would be scary. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, and then you're open to their criticism of it tasting bad, but whatever.
Barbecue sauce makes everything taste
Yeah.
better.
Okay. All right. We're moving on. Going back to your experience at Baldwin. I know, like, I had no clue that was how you got there. Would you ever consider, like, say, in a parallel life, since we're on parallel lives, would you consider going to like a different all women's college? Like, did you like the experience of being at an all women's college?
I don't necessarily think I liked it or disliked it.
Yeah.
I think, there was a lot of cattiness in
Mhm.
the VWIL program
Yes.
that takes away from what it could be, but that's everywhere, right? It's not just like specific to that. But there is this, and I see it in the Army, where it's like I could be not on anyone's radar, but you step into a room with another female and it's like, okay, well, like now we're matched energies. And I certainly will match an energy. So if you're like sideways towards me, then guess where I'm going to be? Sideways towards you.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of like eye-opening for me because I've never really had girlfriends. I've had one female friend since middle school who is still my best friend, and we live in the same condo complex in Alexandria. But it's never been like that, and so when I was exposed to just females, it was crazy, right? And then to be super competitive, added a different dimension to it. I think I was like, oh my God, like, you can get rewarded for doing these things. Like I do this. So it's not that I would be opposed to a female school. I think just by happenstance, I just ended up at one.
That's hilarious.
And it's just like, okay, here we are.
Yeah. But yeah, and I do think it is like for people who are listening who didn't necessarily go to Mary Baldwin or understand what VWIL is, or have gone to like other all women's colleges or co-ed colleges, I think VWIL in itself was like its own animal that like just stands out and is unique and had its own quirks and was like its own microcosm.
It was. And I lived in it. So I didn't take in it on me, not to take anything away from Mary Baldwin, but I didn't try to like make friends outside of VWIL. So it was like I was living this life inside this, what'd you call it? A microorganism? A microcosm? Close enough.
No wonder
under the microscope.
No wonder you didn't study science.
Right. And thank you for that. So I didn't embellish anything. And I have made, I will say, the one thing I walked away with, and I have never been back since I've graduated, but I'm not the type of person who like, once I'm done at a place, I'm done and I'm past it. I don't go backwards. And so the 5 things I've taken with me are Jane, Sharmika, Jill, Candy. Is there someone else I'm supposed to mention? No, 4 people. That are like ride or die in my life.
Okay.
Best friends. Yeah.
Nice. If there was a fifth person, I'm sure after this airs, you'll get
You're now removed from my circle of friends.
You'll get a text message. Maybe.
Wouldn't that be sure me? Yeah, no, I'm comfortable with 4.
Okay. Cool. All right.
If I think of something, we'll edit it out. Okay.
I am interviewing Jane, so I'm excited for that.
If she doesn't say I'm a friend,
I'm pretty
we're
sure
over.
she will. I mean, I've seen y'all hanging out and spending a lot of time together. So I'm proud of her for going to Yale, but I'm like, this timing is awful.
She literally just packed. She moved, right?
I know. Yeah. She's literally there.
She's at Yale.
Yeah. I was like, man, I'm going to be close to so many people. And Jane was one of the first people that popped in my head. And she's gone.
She's out.
Yeah. She's like, bye. Gotta go to Yale. Went to Columbia. Now I'm going to Yale.
Right? Don't leave me in my education. I love you and I support anything that you want to do, Jane.
No, she's great. So I'm really looking forward to that interview because, I mean, yeah, I think I'm going to laugh just as hard as I'm laughing now or probably harder.
She's not that funny. Don't give her that much credit. Next question.
Okay. Yeah. So you talked about not having a lot of female friends or female experiences. I don't know. I feel weird saying female. You don't have a lot of women, I guess, who, at least up until college, that you're friends with. But are there any women that currently inspire you? If so, who and why?
Good Lord.
I briefed you on this question.
I know. And I didn't think about it enough.
Okay.
So I would say that I have this, before I really had a real life, I had this like weird obsession. And my mom will attest to this, where she's like, you're a little off, Sarah. There's something wrong with you. When I was like 4 years old, I don't know if you know who Patti Loveless is, but she's a country singer. I legitimately thought I was Patti Loveless. Like, I would go around thinking I was this woman. And to this day, still obsessed with her. And in my office at home, I have a wall of black and white portraits of all the people that I love. And it's all famous people. It is kind of weird, you know? Very, and it's creepy. But to name a few, there's my circle of friends who I idolize individually. And then there's people that I kind of like look up to that I don't know, that I'm judging based on like an interview or something. One of them happens to be, I'll start with Faith Hill. This is from 1998. Got it on eBay.
Oh, back to eBay.
So, right? I know, like eBay. How dated? Amazon Prime. No, Faith Hill was, aside from Patti Loveless, Faith Hill, for whatever, I was captivated by her.
Yeah.
And I'm not even kidding. When she was a cover girl in 2003, I pulled her picture from the magazine and I carried it around with me. I still have the picture.
Wow.
It's folded up and I carry around. It's in one of, it's not on my wall, like a creepy, but I have a box of stuff that I have from my like youth and I still have the picture. She's just my favorite person in the world. And I joke that she's like my Jesus. Like, that is how significant this woman is in my life. And, she doesn't do any music. It's been years for this lady to release an album. But, I respect that she stepped away to raise her family and to be a mom and to just do other things. Yeah. It wasn't just, I'm a singer and this is who I am.
She acts, though, too.
She does, yes. Oh, she did do 1883. Let me give it to her. She did, and I loved her in it. And then, for the sake of time, I'll say that Mariska Hargitay is somebody else who I just, am obsessed with. And since the beginning of time, I've been I'm 10 and watching Law & Order SVU. And honestly, when I had my wisdom teeth out, I don't know if you've ever had this experience with anesthesia as a redhead.
I didn't have to have anesthesia when I got I only had one wisdom tooth that got taken out.
Well, that's weird.
Yeah.
Well, anesthesia and I don't mix, so I have a real hard time waking up. And so they had to give me extra to put me down and then, like, try to get me out of it.
mhm.
I was screaming at the top of my lungs that I needed, like, a rape kit done. I know that sounds
Oh my
horrific.
God.
I don't
You
know.
traumatized
I was
these
traumatized by
not
Law and Order SVU.
nurses.
I know.
These nurses and doctors were like,
They were like, and it was my mom's friend is the surgeon, and she was like, Jesus, like, is she okay? Like, what has happened to her? And Law and Order SVU, baby. It was, and still is a very
still
prominent
ingrained.
thing in my life.
Yeah. I mean, it's still going.
It is. And she's just, from what I can tell, I don't know her personally, but
Yeah.
like just her persona, I'm like attracted to. I think she's an awesome
Yeah.
person, and she does a lot of good with what she's been blessed with,
Yeah.
as far as being famous and having a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's not just like, look at me, I'm rich and pretty. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, let me start a foundation and talk about causes that matter. So,
Yeah. Actually doing something with her platform.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, I remember you're a big fan of Faith Hill, and my favorite country artist, like who I was obsessed with, was I know it really bothers you because it is Shania Twain. I know. They were like I feel like they were very much pitted against each other during the time frame that they came up. But
Yeah, because it's like a blonde versus brunette thing.
yeah,
And,
I mean, I've always liked brunettes.
and you know
so.
what? Honestly, she's talented and she's a great songwriter. She's like very much an artist.
Yeah.
But she sat on Tim McGraw's lap at something, and I was just seething because if you didn't know, listeners, that Faith Hill is married to Tim McGraw. And I took it personally, like as a 12-year-old. I was like, this
Wow.
hussy.
Yeah. I guess
Not any man of yours, Shania Twain. No.
No.
But it does bother me when people say they like Shania Twain over Faith Hill. To this day, I
Yeah.
look at you differently.
Yeah. I mean, I'll never apologize. That's just
okay.
how it is.
It's okay.
Come On Over was my first CD that I ever had. Funny story, my aunt, before she got me the CD as a gift, this is embarrassing. She recorded it onto a tape.
Mm-hmm.
So some of our listeners probably know what those are, onto a cassette tape. And there's only so much space on a cassette tape. And we were going on a road trip to Nags Head, North Carolina with like the entire family. And so we're playing through, and Come On Over it's a long album. Like there's a lot of songs on there. And we get to the end of that side of the cassette tape. And then there were still 3 more songs that should have played when you switched it to the other side. And she switched it to the other side, and it's the Dixie Chicks. Now the Chicks.
Way better than Shania Twain. So.
And I was pissed. I think I might have been 9, maybe. And I was so upset. I honestly, I was a brat as a child. That's a fact. I was a brat. I don't know what happened between then and now, but yes, I was a brat, and I made such a fuss. I was like, "Where are 3 songs?" You have to pull over the car and like
Spank you,
spank me
Yeah,
on the side of
good.
the road. And then it was just me crying the rest of the Nags Head. And yeah, eventually I did get the full CD as a gift.
No,
But-
well, thank God.
Yeah. But yeah, that's how much I loved Shania Twain. I knew that there were supposed to be 3 more
There's
songs.
3 more songs on this cassette.
And for some reason, I held a grudge against the Chicks for like the longest time.
because of that.
Because of that. But obviously I love them. They make great music. But yeah, I just held a grudge against them for no good reason.
It's a travesty because they're
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Anywho, you were caught recently. You weren't caught. You posted it at the Eras tour.
Instant regret posting it.
Yeah. I am a Swiftie, but I I guess you just were there. Like, how'd you get there? It was very unexpected. I was like, what is she doing there?
Exactly.
And why is she posting about it? Why does she look happy?
So I did go. Not that I know old Taylor Swift, like when
Yeah,
she's singing
country
about
Taylor.
Tim McGraw. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you have to respect the Tim McGraw song at least, maybe.
It kind of made me like a little pissed. I was like, who is this singing about Tim McGraw? But if you
Yeah,
like
why
re-listen,
don't I have this
why didn't
album?
I? But
Yeah,
if
why
you
not
re-listen
me?
to it, it's not like she's into Tim McGraw. I took it as she's like likes Tim McGraw, and then I took Faith's side clearly. But it's not even about that. It's like
No,
just
it's
when you
not.
think about him, think about this time
Yeah.
of my life.
Yeah.
I have always respected Taylor Swift. Do I like vocally think that she's the greatest? No.
No.
I had one of my friends at work was like, I have Era's tickets to her hometown show in Philadelphia. And I was like, oh, like, sounds great. And she's like, no, do you want to go? And then I kind of faked that I was like into Taylor Swift. So I show up there. We meet in Philadelphia after work. And I gotta tell you, I had like a jean skirt on. I knew to dress girly.
Yeah.
But then I like didn't know anything about like the friendship bracelets. I was so out of my element.
Yeah.
The sequins, the pink,
Yeah.
and I was mesmerized at just like the fandom.
Yeah.
And
It's
how
intense.
touched people were. Like when she came out, sobbing was happening around me.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like, oh my gosh. So I have to respect that, you know.
Yeah.
I respect her as a person. I think she's awesome. I think she's good for people to like, that's someone that's like a wholesome person to be like, oh, I love Taylor Swift. You know? Yeah. So she dates a lot of guys. Get off her back. Who cares?
Yeah.
But like, she's fundamentally a good person. And I was like, this is cool. And so I like started to fall for like the Swiftiness of it. I was like enchanted.
Yeah.
And I did, right?
You were
You like that?
enchanted.
And I knew way more songs than I thought I would as well. There was a lot of like new stuff I didn't know from that album
Midnights.
about it.
Yeah.
I knew that
Midnights.
one. There we go. Midnight. But that's the only song I knew from that.
Yeah.
But I was surprised at myself. And it was one of the dangerous to say that. It's one of the best shows I've seen.
Wow.
In a state.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're like, I have to clarify.
I have to clarify. Yeah, she put on a really good show, and like, I just spit on your microphone. I think that it was cool. And it was free, so like
it was cool.
Yeah, just to experience it with people. I think that was the coolest part of it.
Yeah. No, this is the third time I've seen her.
My lord.
Yeah. It's funny. She like, no matter how many times I've seen her, each time like she finds a way to like reinvent her show and make it even better and somehow like personal, like still have like that personal connection with fans, which I think is great. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I am a Swiftie.
Hardcore, so is Jane.
Yeah, I can't wait.
My God.
Yeah. You best believe
It'll be a topic.
Jane and I will be talking about their story. That's why I specifically didn't want to interview her until after she went.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also missed her again.
She was in Colorado.
She went to the Denver show and I was gone at that point. So, yeah, it's just not lining up. The stars are not aligning.
Just kidding.
She does want to see. All right. Speaking of concerts, this is where we're gonna wrap it up. Wrap it up here. No, this has actually been really fun. Which I wasn't surprised that it was going to be fun, but I think you are a little surprised. We do have the fact that we both love concerts in common. I mean, we have been to a concert together, Brandi Carlile.
Yes.
Who is vocally talented.
Yes.
And lyrically talented, to be honest.
And she's like a killer guitar player.
Yeah. I mean, and I just love her outfits for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love her like country inspired outfits.
Yes.
They're the best. When I saw her in at the Ryman, man, it was great. Anywho,
If you don't know who that is, you need to.
yeah, if you don't know
Get
who
on
that
board.
is, just look her up. You won't regret it. Like, it's like magic for your ears. Her voice is like there's no one else who has a voice like her.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And just another good person.
Yeah, another great person. And she's a lesbian.
And she's a lesbian.
Yeah. You know, I mean, we
What
need
more
our
could you
we
want?
need our heroes too.
What more could you want?
I need my heroes, okay? Anywho, back to the concerts. You've been to quite a few concerts lately. What have been some of your favorites? Do you have any concerts lined up that you're going to go to?
Ooh. So yeah, like music is again a parallel life. If I could sing, that's
Yeah.
what I'd do.
I
You know,
mean,
like
you could sing something on here and then we'll play it back later and we'll see.
we're absolutely not. You will never record footage of me singing to use against me. So to just name like my favorite concert of all time,
Sure. Faithful. And Tim?
I saw them in Vegas, and
Yeah.
it was like an amazing time. I think what I also love about going to concerts is I will take people and like give them the time of their life. Like we're sitting where we're catching sweat, or like
Yeah.
I'm like in
Yeah.
the front row. But I also like will take people that wouldn't necessarily like have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
So I will take a family member. I've taken my sister on multiple trips where it's just like, you want sister trip?
Yeah.
And she's always down for a free ticket.
Yeah.
Make that the
Yeah.
thing of this, like when I'm talking like my sister's free ticket.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to see Dolly Parton, which
Oh
my god, I sat in the front
Wow.
row for that. I was
Yeah,
not
I don't
missing
blame
it.
you. When I was on active duty, I too bought those kind of tickets.
Yeah. It was just like, if I'm gonna go, I'm gonna enjoy it. And like, but recently, the Chicks were in Maryland. I was supposed to see them last Tuesday. They canceled because of an illness. Then I flew to Vegas to see Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah, she's on my list.
Holy, that
Her
was
vocals
top
as well.
3 I've ever
and
seen.
just a good person.
Good person, amazing artist, and she's going through that divorce album.
Yeah.
I too went through a divorce that night. Along with her.
In solidarity.
And then I saw Adele. I didn't post anything, but I saw Adele.
Wow.
Which-
yeah, I was gonna ask but then I saw Kelly Clarkson, so I just assumed.
Yes.
Wow,
I did Kelly,
congratulations.
and then I did Adele.
Welcome to
Yeah.
the I've Seen Adele live club.
And I got to tell you, I think it probably would be the only time I'd ever go back to one of her shows. Just like I've experienced it, but I'll give it to Kelly Clarkson. She showed out and was an amazing entertainer. I saw Brandy earlier, like last month. She was here.
Yeah, Wolf Trap.
And then
Yep, I missed that.
I
Like a couple weeks.
to go to Vegas, I forfeited my Pink and Brandy Carlisle ticket with my family in Pittsburgh, so I missed it. Unfortunately.
Well,
So Pink is on my list to maybe catch her in the United States while she's here this summer and fall.
yeah.
But I currently have now expended all my tickets that I have lined up. I've been to quite a lot this summer, and so
You've been very active.
yes. Oh, and I went and saw Winona Judd. Was probably
I saw that. Yeah.
I saw her twice. So I went to Kentucky to see her, and I only traveled to Kentucky. It was her home show.
Yeah.
I had tickets before her mom had killed herself to see the Judd's final show. So I already had a ticket because they were inviting guests to open for them, and it was fake. And so I was like, she hasn't sang in 10 years. I'm going, and I'm sitting in the front row. And then, I don't know if you're a Judd's fan, but Naomi had killed herself. And so the show was like postponed, and then Winona still went with it. I went to Kentucky. Not only did Martina McBride open, Faith Hill was the guest to sing with Winona.
Wow.
And freaking Brandy Carlisle showed up.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all of my dreams are coming true.
Yeah. That's like a legendary lineup.
It was a great time. And I had my sister with me, so it was awesome.
Yeah.
And then I took one of my friends from work who hadn't been to a concert in like 20 years. And she was like a low-key Judd's fan. So when you
nice.
find one that's
Yeah.
like a fan, you have to take them. And
Yeah.
I actually saw them at George
Mason? George. It is George Mason.
It is George Mason. You know, it's George Madison. Is that a school?
James
Madison. Damn.
Madison. Different Virginians.
Sorry. That's close to Mary Baldwin, right? Jamie Harrison.
Yep.
See, it's all coming back to me.
Yep.
I saw her at your
my school.
Yeah.
Cool. I start classes soon.
So good concert venue for low-key concerts. And I think that's really I've seen like off people wouldn't know who they were, like concerts. So.
Yeah. That's
but yeah, I like music. I like to go to concerts.
Nice. Yeah. So do I. Yeah, that's what we have in common. That's how we saw Brandy together.
Yeah. We also are redheads and we run, so.
Yeah. One of us runs much slower than the other. Are you going to run the Army 10 miler?
I am. I have to have surgery, unfortunately, on my ankle.
Oh, so there's a chance that
might be faster than me. Probably not.
Probably not.
I will be a para-Olympian before I let you beat me in something. I will train on those wheelchairs before I let you beat me.
Yeah.
So I have to have that done, and I'm hoping just 6 weeks off, and then I'll be back at it.
You're probably gonna be excited to know that both Harrison and I will be there. You can once again get another picture with Greatness and Excellence. You helped create. Like, you should be proud.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. All right. Well, in the pilot, we tell the listeners that we'll be at the Army 10 miler. So it sounds like it's gonna be me. It's gonna be Amanda Harrison from the pilot,
the one with the weird accent. You have to remind people she's the one with the weird accent.
And this person that you're probably wondering why we are even friends with her still based on the way she treats us, Sarah McFarland. So listeners, keep an eye out. If you see two redheads, one running very fast, the other running very slow, that's probably us. Feel free to stop us and take a picture. We'll sign autographs.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You might. I will act like I don't know you.
Yeah. She says that now.
She means it.
Okay. Well, honestly, this has been a lot of fun. Normally I ask if people want to share like how to follow them on social media, but I'm pretty certain you don't want that. So
not really, unless you're into like dogs and a 10-year-old kid who like does wild things in the nature.
Yeah. So pretty much Sarah says don't
follow me.
Yeah.
Don't find me.
Don't
reach out.
Her. But she'll at least be tagged in the stories with the promotional clips. So you're welcome. But okay, thank you. She won't admit this, but she was really nervous about it, and she did great.
I didn't want to do it.
If you can't tell, our rapport is very strong. Partially because I'm such a great listener, and that's how I got all my material for my questions.
Yeah,
she did not lift one finger.
I read the description in the post.
Hey, she added. She follows the podcast on Instagram. So, that's probably the most I could ever ask from her.
Yeah.
Maybe one day she'll like double tap a post, probably her own.
I'm going to share it too to get all the likes.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. With my 3 followers that are all family. So, you're welcome.
Yeah. But yeah, this has been fun. And maybe the Jane episode will top this one. Who knows? She is going to Yale, so she's got that over you. Yeah.
I was going to be rude, but I'm not. Jane. No.
Yeah. Jane, she did say that she's funnier than you, so
That's a given.
Those are fighting words. I'll be sure to ask you and see what your thoughts are about that. But yeah, so stay tuned for the episode with Jane Chadwell where she can rebut that claim made by Sarah.
And Amanda Harrison, I didn't target you.
Yeah.
You're weird.
Yeah. She just said when you do the wrong thing.
I wasn't going to say it.
She wasn't going to say it, but I will.
Thank you.
All right. Well, this has been fun. All right. Say bye to the people.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the All Girls School podcast. But before class is over, please take a moment to subscribe or leave a review on Apple or Spotify podcasts. If you enjoy video content, head over to our YouTube channel at All Girls School Podcast, where you can watch and listen to each episode. You can also follow us on Instagram at All Girls School Podcast, and you can email us questions, stories, and more at theallgirlsschoolpodcast@gmail.com. That's it for today. Class is dismissed.